Hello and welcome back once again to Third Age Total War Divide and Conquer. And once again we are on the many tips and tricks videos that I am preparing to release to the world. And now we are looking at the Golden Dragon, the clan of Rhun. Now, compared to many people that know much of Rhun in the past before 2.0, you remember that Rhun starts with a large faction, and yet now they've only got Mistrand. And that's because, very much like Harad, which also currently has only one region of Find a Bell, they have been given a rework in the script department to make them not as OP in the beginning, but can still reach that strength after a few turns, just to give Dorwinion a little more time to actually prepare against you. Because most likely you will be fighting against Dorwinion almost every time, because who doesn't fight Dorwinion as Rhun? I mean, come on, who doesn't? So for those of you, I'm not good with remembering many names, so I've decided to keep this up because I realised, as I did with I failed to remember with Harad, that this actually tells you all the different tribes that you can get with Rhun. You've got the Balkov, the Amuri, the Arulad, and the Suriut, and the Varyags. So we're going to go through each of them one by one as we go through the script. So as I said, you start as a small burgeoning tribe trying to reclaim the might that Rhun once had in the western regions, because Rhun is a lot larger than this. There's a massive scope in the east that is not shown on this map, which also includes the Orokani, or the Red Mountains, very similar to the dwarves of the Iron Hills and Erebor. They are the Red Dwarves. But for those of you that don't know, when we get to the Erebor overview, or the Blue Mountains, or Khazad-dûm, because I think one of them gets the Orokani Clan Hall as well, we can show off the might of the Orokani and show the world why the Red Dwarves are probably some of the strongest dwarves in the game. So, Mistrand. You start with only one region, Mistrand, very much like you started with only Find a Bell as Harad, but you start with a relatively larger army, yes. and you have in some respects a much more powerful general, Lokon Rukar, and he starts with Lokrim Bodyguard, probably one of the strongest bodyguard. We'll go into them later. And we also have our faction heir, the Khan Margos, who starts with Loknarim, our best archer units, and very similar to the Haradrim archers, this is your best non-tribe focused archer unit. In fact, it might be the strongest archer unit you've got. So yeah, you want to make these a lot. Not only are they really behind the fence for archers of evil men tribes, but they are really dependable and can be really spammed out in the late game. You also start with armies of Daratai. So Daratai is the name of the clan that you first follow, or you start out as. So you have the Daratai clansmen, Daratai hunters, Daratai warriors, and Daratai crossbowmen. So you start with two very powerful archer units and two relatively strong infantry units that break against Harad like a tide against a wave. They are slightly better improvements upon them on their base stats. But that doesn't mean that they're better in general, because they do cost a little bit more. But of course, living in the wastes of Rhun is as perilous as living in Harad, though they have been known to harbour more powerful defences. So the script, very much like Harad, I'm just going to breeze over it because it is very simple. The more regions you claim, more importantly specific regions like Rubar. If you were to claim Rubar and Elgaia, you would get the, I'm trying to remember the name now, the Arulad clansmen. So those are your elite halberd wielding, battle staff wielding, armor piercing, anti cavalry units for the early game, and a cavalry unit in itself as well. So two really dependable units coming up to Elgaia and Rubar. Going down south to Mataram, you will get the Kandish warriors, as you start moving into the very large wastelands and steppes of Khand. Although you're not technically enslaving them, you are making an alliance with the tribes of Khand and gaining their troops as your own. Similar to the Haradrim, you also get a Khand recruitment building at your capital, the Khand Outpost, or very musting ground, where you can instead make nomad horsemen. So a more powerful horseman unit you need in your early game, because you have very little cavalry options in the early game. As you can see, your base stables gives you nothing. It gives you nothing. You need to get the arrow lad before you can get something from your starting stables. And from your starting barracks, all you can get are the Daratai warriors. From your starting archery range, you can only get the Daratai crossbowmen. But obviously your Daratai hunters and clansmen, your two weakest units, they just come from the meeting hall like most trash tier units come from. But don't label them as trash yet, because they have some quite unique things to them. For those that also remember back in the day of Divide and Conquer, while it was still in its prime, but not at its current best, the Daratai hunters, well, you might remember the fire arrows that the many factions could acquire from just switching out from one of their tooltips to have fire arrows instead of regular arrows, which give a little bit reduced accuracy but an increase in fire damage and things like that. However, the Daratai hunters, these units, I believe do get, I don't think it says it. Here we go. They adorn their bows with oil that sets their arrows alight. This is the kind of nod to the fire arrows in the Daratai hunters. I don't think the Daratai crossbowmen also have it. Oh no, every unit that's every ranged unit in the Daratai or Dragon Cult uses they use fire arrows of some description, except for the crossbowmen, if I'm not mistaken. They are the only units that cannot use the fire arrows. Though I could be very, very wrong on that. But I also know the Narim should have it as well. Yep, grant the power of fire to their arrows, and this fire burns even as arrows flies through the air. So you've got two very decent archer units that not only has a that not also just slightly above average for their tier, but they also have a unique look to them while they're shooting fire arrows. Because you're a dragon cult, you worship the great dragon that once lived in Mistrand. You know, it's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, it is cool. But yeah, also you can get the Balkov by moving down to Enmahaf, Monarchus, and into Varfest. And the Balkov were originally just on the same tier as your Daratai, just slightly stronger, with javelins. But they've also adapted them so you can also have a spear and shield wielding counterpart, and that makes them pretty deadly in some situations. But we'll go over their stats later, because I haven't actually seen their revised stats for Rhun, because I just never care about Rhun anymore. They're like one faction that just, they're going to destroy everything, let's just let them do it, and then just forget about it. That's all we can do with Rhun. Looking elsewhere, so now, oh yeah, one more. If you take Lest, and you have the remaining regions already under your control, you get the final faction, or the final tribe, the Suriut, and they give you your unique chariots, the only chariot in the game, and used to be the bodyguard of your local Khan. However, because it was so easily defeated by just, accidentally trampling over an archer, and oh no, a gear broke, the machine's fallen all over everywhere, he's dead now. Yeah, they didn't want that happening anymore, so they thought, okay, let's give him a more generic bodyguard. And did that by giving them the actual bodyguard unit, which used to be a cavalry unit, but because Rhun were not exactly a cavalry standard faction, they said, screw it, let's get rid of them. They don't need it. They're too overpowered with it. Let's shorten down their expectancy. But another thing to note, very much like Harad, for every tribe you get under your rule, you will get a unique general, which has a unit of that kind. I don't think it's the same for the Suriut chariot, but I do know it is for the Balkov. I know it is for the Variags, I think. I think they're giving them Variag horseman units. And then there's also one for the Daratai. Not the Daratai. Oh, damn it, I got rid of the thing as well. The Arulad, that's it. They give a special Arulad horseman unit over as well. So you do get one or two cavalry generals, just not overpowered generals that can constantly repair themselves to full strength every time they don't fight, which is about like 12, 20, which is, you may seem may not seem like much, but when you start seeing the stats of the Lokrim cavalry, you might realise, okay, yeah, there's a reason they were taken away. So now looking at the building browser, not too impressive, very similar to the building browser for Harad, but I've got a few more additions to it to make them a bit more, they're more golden theme, they're more heavy armor theme, rather than their pure aggressive and desert theme. Because again, Rhun isn't all desert. A lot of it is forest. Well, the western regions of Rudel, which are around the Sea of Rhun and encroaching upon Dorwinion, are the most un-desert-like regions that Rhun has. So they don't have many desert-themed buildings, but they do have the same building browsers as most evil men, except for Rhun, but Rhun's always the exception. You get two tiers of stables, which is, it's okay. You also get the look in Asrim once you get the second tier. You get 3 tier of the barracks like every other evil man nation so far. You get your Daratai, the Loke Rim units, and the Dragon's Mouth Griosman and the Loke Scion Rim. But those are only the units that you start with. Again, all the other units, like the Horsemen of the Arulad, they go into the stables. The barracks gets filled up with the other Arulad and the Balkov, unless it goes into the practice range. But I do know the... in fact, does anything else go into here? I think that's it. I think that's the Archer Ranger only has the Daratai crossbow and the Loknar Rim. Oh no, and there's the Variag unit as well, I think. They put in as well in the later on, the Footman Variag unit. And we might be able to show it off in the second part of this video. And as you can see, they also have the 4th tier of the Armory, unlike the Haradrim, because again, they are more of a armor theme, as you can see by their beautiful golden armor. They are... is very, very unique to them, even though it's only really shown off once in the movies when they were moving to go to Morannon. You know, they could have put the Haradrim of the Easterling in so many cool places, in like Battle of Pelennor Fields, Battle of the Black Gates. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, they went into Mordor for a reason. What else were they doing? I know most of them assaulted the north and attacked Erebor and Dale, but you think at least a few of the most elite troops that Sauron could muster would move on to attack the capital of men. Even the Corsairs went, and even the Corsairs of Umbar went, and yet they were assaulted by the army of the dead and Aragorn. Okay, rant over. But then we also have the Mason's Hall, Master Mason, and Mason's Guild House. Ports not as impressive as the Ardenheim, but still, are the same as the Haradrim. Again, not a ship sailing nation, although they do have the Great Sea of Rhun. And if you can take all of these regions with all those ports, you can make more money than any other faction could, than anyone else can. The Sea of Rhun and its ports, if you build a port in every area, I guarantee you will make more money from those ports alone, or the trade from those ports, than all 4 Hobbit Shire regions can. And they're said to have the greatest trade when all put together. And that's not a joke, they do well. But still, this amount of regions, the Sea of Rhun does so much better. Roads, again, not a Númenórean faction, not a not the most complex builders, but they still know how to make roads like every other nation. The Fury can go up to irrigation, then they get the mines, the mining network, and the mines. Obviously, because this place doesn't have a mines, the income from mining is nothing. But like the other factions, their building income is exactly the same. Then they've got the Warriors Guild, the Dragon's Wrath Guild, which gives a melee weapon bonus, and the Master Dragon's Wrath Guild, which gives a morale bonus and an experience bonus on top of the melee bonus. So very similar to the building for the Ardenheim, just slightly renamed. Yeah, renamed. Then there's the Dark Sanctuary, Shrine, and Temple. Exactly the same as the one for Harad, and it's exactly the same for the one for Khand, until they either decide the Istar, in which case they need to be taken down for something else. But yet they give increase the culture, public order bonus, and free upkeep. That's the best thing about these 3 factions, is that they get extra free upkeep just for making this Dark Temple. With the Elves, it's an increase in trade. The Númenóreans, they get a melee weapon bonus. I'm not sure about the Ardenheim. I never actually looked up what they get. It might just be a melee weapon bonus, because all the other Númenóreans get it. And the Castle Hall, same as every other faction, you can go up to tier 4. The High Palace, we can get your bodyguard from in your faction capital. Then there's the militia armory and the armory. Do exactly the same thing as every other nation, no different. And then again the canned outpost, which you can get from your capital. We can get the Variag Nomad Horsemen and the Variag Horse Archers, which are 2 unique units you can get from the encampment. But you can also get the Candish Labour Camp, which is exactly the same as the other 2 factions. You can get almost every unit from Can's roster. From the Warlords, from the Marauders, the typical cavalry, to the Warlords Cataphracts, one of the greatest cavalry units that the evil men have to offer. They also get things like the Merchants Guild, which is a quite unique building, really, for the Easterlings. I believe I failed to show it off for Harad, but I do believe they get the same thing. I keep forgetting that this thing still exists as well. But yeah, they've got oh yeah, they also get sea trade up to Docklands. They get the marketplace up to the Grand Bazaar, like every other nation. They get towers, which is no surprise. What else do they get? Yeah, the Merchants Guild. They get trade. Oh, this is the thing I was talking about. I meant to talk about. They need the grain exchange and the dirt paths to get this thing called the trading post. And this building gives massive trade increases. And I believe only Rhun, Dale, and maybe Harad get this. I don't think Can does, but I do know. Yeah, it even says here, with trading plaza in the town, the region's wealth will skyrocket. And that's just the top tier. The first tier, they ensure all merchants pay the correct tithe. These are undisputably some of the strongest buildings in the game because they don't need much. Granted, the trading plaza requires the bazaar, the highest tier of marketplace, and the roads. So it could take a lot. Oh no, it takes the tier 3. Okay, that's a bit. I'm gonna say that's a bit busted. I'm just gonna go out and say that now. That looks a bit busted. But yeah, that's the list of buildings for the Warriors of Rhun. Obviously, you also get town health and the entertainment, which I completely missed out the last 2 factions because I showed off the castle upgrades. And then, of course, castles are not focused at all upon economy. They're focused entirely upon unit production rates, which makes them better at recruiting units. So tips and tricks for Rhun: exactly the same as Harad. Get the tribes up and then smash your nearest neighbour. For Harad, it would have been Dogwood. For Harad, it's Dol Amroth, no contest. For God damn it. For Rhun, it's going to take Dorwinion. And if Can do side with the Istari, you can go and just attack them from their rear, and it would definitely hurt. And then if you wanted to, you could even backstab Mordor, because by the time you have defeated Dorwinion and Canned, Dale and the Erebor dwarves will start knocking on your door, so beating them would be a trifle for you. But you could also just start knocking on the back door and the front door of Mordor and just beat them down and make an alliance with Gondor. I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, you don't have to, but why not? But other than that, I can't think of much else to say about Rhun. Rhun is a very easy faction to play as. It's known to be one of the easiest to start with, and that's why they gave it this script to make it a little more difficult. But because of their massive starts, and yes, like Harad, they are starting to lose a bit of economy turn 1, all you need to do is take Mataran, Elgai, and Rubar, and already you have 2 of the tribes unlocked, I believe. The Canned warriors, and the Arulad. And those are your 2 strongest. The Balkov are good at defense, and the Suriut are just, I say busted, but it's hard to really label the Suriut chariots. It not depends on how good you are, it depends on how well you know how to keep them alive. Because chariots are the most volatile units that can very easily be defeated, not by your stupidity and not noticing what they're doing, but the game's just backward knowledge of, okay, this unit's now running through. Oh no, a unit just fell. It just crashed on something. It's now dead. Yeah, that's why there's only 1 chariot unit, because they are in this game. They are a bit unstable. They're not really done well. They're basically classed as elephants. for those that don't know, the chariots are classed as elephants, very similar to the Oliphants and / Mumakil of Harad and the great beasts of Gorgoroth. So other than that, Dorwinion should be an easy walkthrough. I remember beating them down before even the barracks event occurred. If the best thing to do in any campaign, this is general knowledge, is to beat your most opposing neighbour before the barracks event, because in most instances the barracks event is better for the AI than it is for you, because the AI will most likely will be able to build up things faster because they just have almost unlimited resources, and you do not. You need to start building your buildings and then start building your units if you have enough for upkeep for them. If you have enough upkeep for them, have enough money for them. A lot of things factor in that the barracks event makes AI stronger and it gives them the chance to fight back. Obviously, if you want a more difficult campaign, just take places like Winterian Aor, and maybe ally with Dorwinion, because you can do that. You can ally with them. They're only a bit peeved off with you to start with, but you can make allies with them. And then let's go straight for Erebor and Dale, and that would be a real challenge. Because Dale in the early game have a lot of unique units that can beat you down with a lot of strong, unique, diverse archers. And the dwarves in general against any faction are going to be strong. There's no denying the dwarves are some of the strongest nations in and out. Unlike the elves who just sit doing nothing most of the time, the dwarves will expand. We've seen this in my Angmar campaign. We've seen it in the Linden campaign. Dwarves are not to be underestimated. They will just blow up out of control if they're left to their own devices for long enough. But yeah, you will often find that the dwarves will try and rush for Skarn so they can start attacking you at Rubar and Winterian Aor, while the Dalesmen will also try and rush for Kondovan, Talapang and Winterian Aor as well. So you might have to fight them both off at Rubar, which is a good thing because it is a very well defended region, being already a town. But do remember, you are having to fight a lot of things first, and to claim all these rebel regions, it is best to avoid open confrontation with a lot of different factions. And to note, you are only starting a war with Erebor. You do not start a war with Dale anymore, and you do not start as I believe you just start as neutral with Dorwinion. Let's actually find out. Dorwinion, yeah, neutral. Oh no, relations is terrible. They do not like us one bit. They're allied to Dale and the Woodland Realm, but because Dale's not a starting enemy with us, we can make an alliance with Dorwinion, and then once we have claimed once you claim all the regions and have all your tribesmen, you can smash up against the dwarves because that's your first enemy. They will be rushing for you, as they will also be trying to take down the orcs of the Misty Mountains, or the orcs of Gundabad in the next expansion. But we'll talk about that another time when the faction of Gundabad has fully been released to the world. So, anything else I can really add to this? Again, your starting faction you're at war with Erebor. You start allied to Mordor and Khand, your immediate neighbours. Obviously, if Khand is to side with the Astari, you will lose that relationship, and you will most likely have to choose between Mordor and Khand. And if you choose Mordor, that says you're trying to go for more of a good ending. I mean, if you side with Khand, because that's the thing. If Khand decides to fight against Mordor and decides to be a good guy, you can as well. The same applies with Harad. That's allied to Khand and Mordor to start with. I don't think actually. I'm unsure if you actually get the choice of whether or not you fight against Khand or Mordor. That's something I've never actually tested, but I will. No, I won't. I was going to say, but I will pass forward 30 odd turns to see if it happens. But to be honest, I think it's best to be left as a mystery for new players, because no new player is going to know much about the Khand script. But when it does happen, that immediate thing happening just clicks in your mind, and you think, wow, we need to make a massive choice for our faction. Are we fighting this faction that's most likely doomed and we have an easy time anyway? Or do we make things slightly harder for ourselves and fight against one of the strongest nations in the game at this point? Oh, decisions. And then you just go on from there. I mean, honestly, I would go straight for Mordor. I'd say, screw it, I'm going to attack Mordor now. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do it. But yeah, that's my honest opinion. Obviously, again, taking the whole Sea of Rhun from Dorwinion is a massive, massive, massive economy maker. You want to try and get that as soon as possible, but don't neglect your other regions. They all, another thing to note, they all have dirt paths to start with. You're already starting with massive trade increases and movement speed. In a place like here, hardly any roads whatsoever. No roads in Barketa, there's no roads in base not in Arthedain anymore. Yes, there's roads in Ossul and Fenastrunen, but there's none in Tethuin, Keloniac. You start in one of the best places to start off with because you start with roads. You start with dirt roads and dirt paths and roads. Not many factions get the start like that. Get a really good start like that. I mean, Harad kind of does as well. But obviously these two regions go to the Ardenaim, and then you're stuck going into the desert with hardly any roads whatsoever. Some leading off from Korandash, and then there's none in Saikan either, because obviously they're not fully upgraded towns, and they don't have any paths to make, because they're only villages. So I hope you like this little first part of the video, and we'll now be looking into the battle map side, where we show off every single unit like we have for the last two factions. So we'll see you in a few seconds. And welcome back to the battle map side. Now we're in this little bit here. First, just going to quickly set up the army we're fighting against, but mainly to talk about this unit here, the Udeji Marines. I tried showing this off just a few seconds ago when I realised, they haven't appeared. Instead, I got 2 units of Lokanar Rim instead. Well, I'm just going to show off what they are here. So they've got attack of 6 with missile of 9, and they throw basically burning oil casks. So very unique throwing weapons, very much like a stone thrower, but with slightly better attack, defense, and charge than the basic Hobbit stone throwers. We'll go into them, what they can do later. But it's good against mount, effective against armor, and they can charge without orders, but they're well armored and good stamina. We'll see if this works when we go in now. So just get to look at this beautiful artwork right here while we're waiting. But yeah, I only just realised the Udeji Marines hadn't appeared on the thing, and there's a reason why I forgot to talk about them as well. Is that that I completely forgot about them. I completely forgot about their existence. Oh no, they've worked now. They worked. Well, this is the Udeji Marines. Well, just going to quickly get everything sorted. So we've got the first 4 units, our first 2 Darata units, and the Balkov are the same tier. Then I'd say the Kandish units and the other Darata units are at the same tier. And then I think the Aralad are slightly better, but on the same tier as the units, the Kandish Raiders. So they're kind of in the same tier. Then I'd say it's these 4 units of the Lok Rim, including the Udeji Marines, and then the more elite Golden Dragon, the units of our Golden Dragon, and then the Suryut Chariots and our Bodyguard. So let us begin. So first, our Daratai Clansmen. We quickly looked over them when we turned them off first. Very similar to most tier trash units for the evil men. Pretty standard attack, not too bad charge, pretty decent total defense because it's half of it's in defense, the rest is in shield. So if they didn't have the shield, then they'd be exactly the same as the Corsair Raiders, or the I've already forgotten the names for them. But yeah, that's said Corsair Raiders. They'd have exactly the same stats. Again, they are various because they are actually no, I don't think they are. Oh no, they used to be called. They used to be various because of the old invasion, but we won't go over that. Next are the Daratai Hunters, which again we've already talked about. They have a unique fire arrow effect, which I'm going to make sure to show off along with the Lokanar Rim and the Udeji Marines, and we'll see if the Daratai Crossmen have the same thing. But yeah, 2-2-2-2. Pretty bog standard trash archer unit. Very similar to the Corsair Archers. Very similar to the Haradrim Archers. Nothing really special about them. They are just there to be, well, to stand out really because of their fire arrows. But that's it. Other than that, they are not special in the slightest. Just a basic trash tier archer that can do pretty decent damage if left alone for long enough against other trash tier units. And next we come to the first of the units we couldn't show off in the beginning, the Balkov Tribesmen. So this is the unit I was talking about. This was the original unit that was part of the Clansman, Hunter and Tribesman set back in the day of Rhun when it was still powerful. I mean overpowered. A melee attack of 3, so slightly weaker than the standard DaC clansman, but a missile attack of 7 because they have javelins. They have a total of 3 javelins at 55 range and an average accuracy. So they're not the best, but they do know how to hold their own with their shield with the total defense of 5. Slightly weaker than DaC clansman again, but they do have that ranged option for a small portion of the battle. They're not the best, but again, they are a trash tier unit, so don't give them too much credit. Now, I was tempted to put the Balkov Spearmen about here, but then I think there'd just be too many split tiers. So I decided, okay, so the Balkov Spearmen are about the same tier. Attack of 3, that's your worst, other than your DaC Hunter's attack. Charge bonus of 3, so slightly better than the Clansman's charge, but a total of 13 defense. That's draw. And you can start seeing now why I wanted to put them here instead of here, but they really aren't got much for them. They've only got 3 armour, they've got a good defense skill. When they're fighting hand to hand, they fight for their lives, and they fight well. And a shield of 4. So already they're a very dependable arrow-soaking unit that can actually prevent themselves from dying, unlike the Clansmen. But again, not too impressive in the forefront. A good defensive unit. And with Rhun, I'd say they're a mix of offense and defense. It's just when it comes to the late game, you just start pushing in with elite units and very decent archers. I'm talking about archers, let's start getting into some of them. The Candish Hunters, your first decent archer unit. So very similar to most Candish units, they have they're really good archers, good accuracy, good range, and they have a missile attack of 3. And that's not it. And they're also stronger than DaC Clansmen in hand-to-hand combat. Yes, they cost about twice as much as they would than the DaC, but they are also AOR. Well, not AOR restricted, but they do require you to have the clan script with Rhun. And that's the difference between Harad and Rhun. Your tribesman units are a bit more scattered in their affiliations. You've got 2 pretty decent but still weak in the long run units, 2 decent ranged options that give you a lot of versatility, 2 powerful skill against mountain units that really start supplementing against enemy cavalry nations. Then you get some rather unique ranged units, which are they're okay, but you wouldn't want to, but they are still decent in hand to hand as well. And then you get the chariots, which are one of the strongest units in the game, not just because of their stats, but also because of what they are capable of. We'll go into them very shortly. So again, back to the Candish Hunters, 5, 3, 3, 9. Pretty good stats, about the average stats for any really strong Candish unit. And you get this once you have the tribes of Cand under your control. And the Candish Raiders, slightly... there's only one thing different about them. Their number is exactly halved, and they get +1 to their charge bonus. And they're skilled against mounts. And they're on horses. And they can do the circle and shoot formation. This is a really, really, really powerful unit. It really is a powerhouse in the early game against any army, no matter who it is or what you're up against. You'll find the Candish Raiders will help beat down Dorwinion, will help beat down Dale, can beat down Cand, Mordor. It doesn't matter who they're up against, they're going to do well. They're going to do really, really well. But again, don't put much hope into them in the later game, and don't spam them. Have 1 or 2 units of them to act as distractions to the AI. Try and have them focus them down, and then have them run around and move the AI out of their formation to beat them down easier. Then we've got the DaC Warriors, the first really strong unit you have to start with. A very unique unit, dual wielding weapons. One of them has a bent grip, which means you can hold it so it's cleft in your hand while still having a fold down hand. And I must admit, that kind of design is really kind of something I want for a sword myself. And then they've got just a basic scimitar as well, the basic runic scimitar. So an attack of 7, a charge of 3, and a total defense of 10. Pretty good stats for an Evil Man Nation unit, which you can get from your first tier buildings, compared to a unit like the Corsair Savages or the Corsair Warriors, or the basic Haradrim spearmen, yeah, they are really, really decent. I say they're the best at their game. And then very similar to the Rosadon crossbowmen, we have the Daratai crossbowmen. Now these guys are a little weaker in the defense, but a little bit better in the melee. But again, their main purpose, just like the Rosadon crossbowmen of the Ardenheim, is to have them sit back, have them on an elevated position so they can shoot down without killing any of your guys, or just use them to run around and then shoot your opponent in the back while they're fighting hand to hand. Simple as, nothing else to say about them. They're effective against armour, so they're good at no matter when, because it's your only armour-piercing archer unit. But are they really, really good when you give them chances? If you give them a good chance, you'll find the Daratai crossbowmen can kill more than any other archer unit, but you need to make sure you're scrutinous with them, because one wrong move and you'll find out they're in a hand-to-hand situation and they're useless. And next we have the Arrowlad Dragon Guard, the first unit of the Arrowlad, and again I still say, not only are they awesome looking with their massive battle staff weapons, but they are also really, really good. Skilled against mounts, effective against armour, stats 5, 6 and 12. Pardon me. They are really, really not to be underestimated. Firstly, obviously you require the regions to have them. But when you do have the Arrowlad Dragon Guard and the Dragon Riders, oh, they're good. They are really good. I mean, an attack of 5 for an armor-piercing unit. If they were fighting hand-to-hand against each other, their armor would be split down, which would mean they'd have only a total defense of 6. But also, they have a perfect divide between armor and defense skill, which is you don't see every day in a unit. Yes, that makes them a little bit weaker to arrows, and yes, that makes them slightly more susceptible to dying in hand-to-hand combat, if compared to a unit that would have full defense skill or full armor. But that's what they are. They are the jack of all trades, but but masters of none. But they don't need to be a master of any, because they are a master of everything. Well, a novice in everything. But that doesn't mean they're weak in the slightest. But next we come to the cavalry version of the Arrowlad Dragon Riders. So you can already see we're getting a few cavalry units like the units that the Haradrim could get. But we actually get a few more from the Candish units as well. We get the other Candish archers and Candish the Nomad hunters and Nomad riders. But we also get the Candish raiders, and we now have our first true cavalry unit, the Arrowlad Dragon Riders. So an attack of 6, a charge of 6, and a total defense of 6. They're perfect stats, 6, 6, 6, 6. What does this mean? They signed a pact with the devil, and they're here to reap their due. Skilled against mounts, not effective against armor, unlike their dragon, their footman version. But again, perfect stats between armor and defense skill. And in a cavalry unit, that is even better. However, they don't have a secondary attack, so they are stuck with this kind of spear, so they're not the best in hand-to-hand. But when they charge, that's all they need. All they need is one good charge, and then just run away again and charge them again and again and again, and you will get guaranteed to reap the benefits. And again, it's best to get these units early on. Yes, they're a bit expensive, but to be honest, all your units are expensive, because they are really good. And now it comes to every unit post-barracks event, I believe. I'm not sure about the Marines, but we're just going to say they're part of the barracks event anyway. So let's first talk about the Udeji Marines. I already talked about them a bit. They have a melee attack of 9, a missile attack of 9, a charge attack of 4, and a total defense of 13. So slightly better than the Arrowlad. The extra points of armor, but they are skilled against mounts and effective against armor with their bombs. The worship of the Dragonfire, the finest minds concoct new and powerful methods of bringing this flame to bear on their enemies. And let's see what they're actually called. Once these hardy warriors will bring volleys of javelins down upon their seafaring enemies, they now bombard the field with flasks of the fierce flames. Whether it be a science or magic, the outcome is a weapon that causes mass devastation, panic and disarray to enemy lines. Caution is advised to any who fight beside the crazy Marines. Should their aim falter, then a grim and fiery death awaits any who gets too close to their mark. So again, your archers and the Marines have the unique fire. they burn things. They're the only faction that actually burns things anymore, except for siege equipment. Siege equipment is the only exception to the flaming ammunition. And of course, unlike like you used to in the past, you can no longer turn off this fire ammunition. You are stuck with it. Flaming arrows. In fact, it shows. It doesn't even show on here that they have flaming arrows, but they do. And then the Loknar Rim also have flaming arrows, burn targets. However, I don't believe the crossbowmen have this. I should check. They do not. So they are the only. So the crossbowmen are the only Dragon Clan unit that doesn't have a flame arrow effect. But these two units are the units that can actually burn through their opponents. So let's go straight into the Loknar Rim. Although we're used to going for the infantry, we're going straight for the range units. So again, looking at their stats, 5, 5, 3, and total defense of 14 on base is pretty good. They're not a ranger unit by any standard. They're not a elite archer unit, but they are a armored archer unit. And like the Arbrazanim Nardubawib of the Ardenaim, they are really good. They are really good. Not the best, but they are good. And what makes them unique is that they have the flaming arrows, so they do a bit more damage with their arrows than most, unless it's just a completely aesthetic option. I know the arrows of the elves of Lothlorien and Mirkwood have a slightly different version of it, which is body piercing, which is the only non-siege equipment variant of body piercing. But that's a video for another time to talk about. Now let's come to your bread and butter units. The Lok Gamp Rim. Although it's on the first tier of your barracks event troops, this could be equally up here because it is overpowered. It is so good. It's not only one of the best pikemen in the game, it's not only the only pikeman you have, but it is a beast on the battlefield. Has 9 armor, so most arrows will not be able to pierce through their thick golden hides. When in battle, their defense go and attack go skyrocket because of their spear wall formation. And any mounted unit that dares cross their path and their mighty pole arms will soon meet a agonizing death. And then we meet the Lok Flag Rim. Does anyone recognize these stats? Does anyone? Does anyone? Effect against armor, attack of 6, a close to 20 total defense. Yeah, these are basically a rip-off of the Arbrazanim Nardu Tariq, but slightly weaker, but they are more aggressive in their advances compared to the Nardu Tariq. Yes, they cannot make the shield wall, but they are a lot easier to make for the runic clans, and to be honest, they look a bit cooler in their golden armor at times. When they shine in the sun like they do in their golden armor, you can't deny they look epic. Half your roster is complete golden armor as well. Not include, obviously, all these units in full golden plated armor. They shine in the sun like like the gold of a hoarded dragon, shining in their flames on the sunlight. But yeah, the Lok Flag Rim, very much like the Nardu Tariq, instead of being a more defensive based unit, they can also be aggressive. Don't let their small charge defense fool you. They are really good flanking units like the Narduzga, but they also are armor piercing. And that only gets better the more experience you give them. Up to a total of 10 melee attack, and that can half most people's armor. Let's say that two units of Flag Rim fighting each other, and they lose 6 of their armor. That would send their total defense down to 13. 13 from 19, and now put them on par with the Aralad Dragon Guard. Oh, deep breath. Okay, so now we come to the elite tier. So these are your best of the best. Some of the units you can only really make when you have plenty of the other Rim units at your disposal, and some of them only available at the highest tier. Obviously, the Innas Rim are your only elite cavalry units, so you get them at the second tier of stables. But obviously, your Scion Rim and the Dragon's Wrath Guildsmen can only be acquired upon the highest tier of your barracks, which is tier 3. So first we look at the Dragon's Wrath Guildsmen. Before, like the Trollmen Warriors, they used to be able to roar into the sky to inspire their nearby troops, but instead they've been given the Frighten Nearby Enemy Infantry role to make them a bit more of a pure aggressive unit. So unlike the Flag Rim, which can be good with their effects against armor, very much like the Ardenaim Armsmen, which we showed up in the Ardenaim video, these Dragon's Wrath Guildsmen are very aggressive, and they frighten nearby enemy infantry as well. So the second they charge in, if the enemy does not run in fear, then they are soon to die and then run in fear if any are left who live to tell the tale. And we look at the exact opposite of the Dragon's Wrath Guildsman, a more defensive style unit, the Loke Scion Rim. And this unit used to be the original bodyguard for Loke Khan Rukar, until they realised this was too busted of a unit to give your faction leader. Obviously you can't plant your stakes, but yet the Loke Scion Rim are your stake planting units. We've already shown off the ones for the Ardenheim and for Harad, if I am not mistaken, if Harad actually got any stake placing units. I don't think he did. I think they're one of the only factions that don't have stake placing units, unless I missed it. Oh well. Yeah, they also score against mounts and have a total of 28 defense. That's the highest defense of any of your units. Even your Loke Rim Bodyguard don't come close to it. Even the Suryu Chariots only have 20 total defense. For 28 total defense, that's almost a third stronger. In fact, it is a third stronger than the Serpent Guards total defense. And that just immediately shows you this is a more defensive styled faction, but can also be very aggressive in the early game, but slowly diverts to a more defensive, strategic faction in the late game. So it's a mix between Harad and into the Ardenheim style battle play. So you start off with pretty strong, aggressive. And you know, I'll talk about my denominations for how you play as them once you, or in battle after we've gone through the last few units. So 16 total defense. Again, that's the same total defense as the Dragon's Wrath Guildsman, but they do get a little bit extra defense skill and shields to show off their beautiful. Oh, they're just beautiful. They are just beautiful. Again, honestly, I still think that the Gab Prim are better in most situations because of their just sheer power. But don't underestimate the Loke Scion Rim. They are still very, very good. But also note they don't inspire your nearby troops. You think the exact opposite of the Dragon's Wrath Guildsmen do exactly that. But no, they gave that to a different unit. And next we come to the Loke Inas Rim, your elite cavalry unit. And as you can see, these inspire nearby troops. And as you can see, their helmet designs are slightly different to that of the foot troops of the Loke Rim. The Loke Inas Rim have a more cataphract style to them, very similar to the canned cataphracts. But instead of having the silver armour, they have pure golden armour on their horses as well. They look majestic, with a 9 attack, a 13 charge bonus, and the secondary attack is 11. And then they have a total defense of 24. So, yeah, don't mess with these guys. Don't mess with them for 1 second. One of the strongest chargers, and again, there's a reason they changed the Loke Rim Bodyguard from what they are now, well, to what they are now, from a bodyguard of cavalry, because they were too busted. They were too busted, I'm telling you. Rhun was so overpowered they even nerfed Darwinians to lose their cavalry bodyguards because they think they just get too powerful. Of course, though, we look now at, well, there's not really much to say about the Loke Inas Rim for those that don't know much about them. Just saying, if you can, shoot them down because they are the one unit of they are one unit that you do not want to mess with. But there's another thing to note is they don't have shields. Shoot them down. Yes, they have 15 armor, but most of it is in their mount. Just shoot them down with very powerful archers, or try and entangle them in spearmen, or pikemen, or halberdiers like the Loke Rim Bodyguard. One of the few bodyguard, in fact, that's not only skilled against mounts, not only frightens nearby enemy infantry, effects against armor, but also frightens nearby enemy infantry. What were they thinking with this unit? 11 attack, charge of 5, 26 top defense. This is without a doubt one of the strongest bodyguard units in the game. Not just because of their stats, but because of their additional abilities. They're not only on par with the Loke Scion Rim with stats, in fact being more aggressive than the Scion Rim, but also being just as defensive. They're the perfect combination between aggression and defense. There's no middle ground. Well, they are the middle ground. They have really good defenses and really good attack, and they frighten nearby enemy infantry. How is that fair? They may as well also have inspire nearby troops as well because of their rally troops ability they get if they're the general. But now we look at their last unit, as I've just done enough ranting on there. The Suryu Chariots. Very much like most, like the Mumakil, and like the Great Beasts of Gorgoroth, which we'll talk about soon enough in the Mordor video, these are extremely good at anything and everything you ask them to do. As you can see here, they used to be armed with the flag rim the Gnar rim that used to have the flag rim or Gamp rim headpiece design, but instead given them a more Gnar rim style to give them more of a I'm not going to say unique design, just try and make them look more appropriate for their actual purpose. They move around fast. They have an 8 missile attack. Your best archers are these, but they require these are your 1 AOR units. All your other units, like the Lok Sion Rim, not AOR. Lok Innas Rim, not AOR. Even your Udeji Marines are not AOR. Mechanics units, not AOR. The Balkov units, not AOR. Your general, obviously, you can only get from your capital, which obviously is a bit of an AOR restriction, but who cares about that? The Suriut chariots are your 1 AOR unit. They require the runic heartlands, because if they were to be built everywhere, like they used to be, in fact they didn't used to be, did they? Huh. I don't think they were. I think, yeah, this has always been your 1 AOR unit. The Suriut chariots, 17 melee attack, 30 charge bonus. So yeah, once they start going in, they'd go in hard. And not only that, they're effective against mounts, because any mounts that go up against them have to go against those massive steel blades. Do you remember what happened to those Warg Riders when they started attacking the chariots in that final Hobbit movie? Yes, it was a terrible movie in some regards, but they did make something right. Going into something like this will butcher and slice through it like a hot knife through butter. Any cavalry unit you encounter as a Suriut chariot unit will very quickly just go splattered against you. Unlike most elephant units, because they class as an elephant, they have a special attack. It's good against mounts. Javelins thrown from before charge. They're not javelins though; they're archers. They can't hide, but they do also inspire nearby troops. Yep, they're pretty good. These are the and flaming arrows. Not just any basic arrows, flaming arrows. So yeah, so the whole runic roster. You can see everything before the Barracks event. It's pretty standard looking. Doesn't really resemble much of Rhun in its full golden armor. But obviously that's all after the Barracks event, where everything is golden. But obviously, yeah, your starting units are actually quite aggressive until you get to the Spearmen, which is your first hint that you want to try a more defensive build. You can. Then you've got the Kanish Raiders, or Hunters and Raiders, which again can employ a more defensive style. But the Daratai and the Arulad, or the Daratai crossbowmen are the one defensive option in that list, because they are more of a strategic choice, because it needs to be positioned correctly. But your other 3 units are extremely aggressive. The Daratai and the Arulad are very, very aggressive units. And then you come to the Lok Rim, and you get, again, a mix between aggressive and defensive. You have your Udeji Marines, which are definitely aggressive units. Your Archers, which are more defensive. The Lok Gamp Rim, which are obviously defensive, being a platinum unit, but the Lok Flag Rim being almost a perfect combination between aggressive and defensive at their tier. And then again, you have your aggression, your defense, and then your strategic play, which is a mix between aggression and defense, but mainly aggression. Then you have a perfect mix between aggression and defense with your bodyguard, and the best bodyguard again. I've already mentioned it a lot of times, but again, it is overpowered. And then you have a very strong aggressive unit that needs to be played very strategically. So all your cavalry, like most cavalry, needs to be played well to make them work. Other than that, there's not much else I can say about Rhun, because they are so easy. They are so easy. I'm going to make sure I have control over a few of the units, but give the rest over to the AI, while I control the Gnar Rim, the Udeji Marines, and the Suriut chariots to show off the flaming arrows and the flaming munitions of Rhun. So we're up against a Mordor, which has some just Mordor troops. We're going to have the Suriut chariots charge after the Black Numenorians, or Dark Numenorians. The Temple Wards are going to be going up against, the Temple Knights they're now called. The Lok Gnar Rim are going to be shooting against the Temple Wards, and then the Udeji Marines are going to be shooting the Temple Wards as well, to show off their capabilities. So first off, we show off the flaming munitions of the Lok Gnar Rim and the Udeji Marines as well. And as you can see, if they actually kill, you know what they do? Very much like how a ballista would kill someone, they rain flaming death upon them. Or a catapult, like I'm getting attacked by right now, the troll catapults. And as you can see, yep, temple wards are slowly burning alive. And the Suryut chariots are completely obliterating those temple knights. I don't remember how many are in actual base unit, like maybe 40. But look how much damage they're dealing to them. They're cutting through them like knife through butter. Again, I've already mentioned how to cut through things like knife through butter, but you know, it's a good metaphor.
Four fights with horns made of clay.
Yep, now
we are winning the battle.
Marines throwing their flaming casks. Go, do it, do it, do it! I want to see it. I've never seen it before. Show it off quickly before you all die. Do it, you bastards! Do it! Throw them! Do it! Oh, they're beautiful! Oh, what the hell! Oh, I feel like I just got hit by a smoke bomb as well. Oh my god. Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, that is beautiful. And see the effect against armour as well. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm entertained. I've been entertained by this. I hope you've all been entertained as well by the just great display of power the warriors of Rhun have. Because, oh my. Back in the day, I loved their design. But to be honest, I'm fine with their design. They look cool and everything. But again, like Harad, they're not a faction I'd be tempted to play. Not because they're easy or anything, just because it's just simple. The way they play is so simple, even now. Even now they've been given the script to work with. They are such a simple faction to play as in the campaign. But in a battle, in a PvP battle, or a PvE battle just like this, I'm more than happy to play as Rhun as a full golden army. Not because it looks just because it looks majestic, but because I just love their design. It's simple as that. I just love their design. Everything about how they've done Rhun is just done so perfectly well. And look at that. 1, 2, 3 rows killed by the DaC Marine oil casks. That's pretty decent. So if you all enjoyed this, leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you press that notification bell to see when another video is being released. I typically release videos around 4, 5, 6 o'clock. Not typically, not really got a reason why. Just
4 fights with horns made of clay. We are winning the battle.
Until next time, hope you all enjoyed, and ta-ta for now.